Example 10, solve 3x to the 2/3 minus 5x to the 1/3 equals 2, or minus 2 equals 0. Once again, this one looks a little uglier. It's got the fractional powers on it, but again, it equals 0. It's a trinomial. We have a power of x, 2/3. Half of that is 1/3, and we have a constant. So we have quadratic in form. It doesn't matter what the powers look like, as long as you have a power and double a power along with a constant, you're going to have a quadratic in form. Once again, I want to apply the quadratic formula. A is equal to 3, B is -5, C is -2. Keep in mind that when you deal with these, the signs are included in the value of the number. And again, if I'm going to apply the quadratic formula, I'm not finding out what x equals with this problem. I'm instead finding out what x to the 1/3 power equals with this problem. And x to the 1/3 power is going to equal the quadratic form structure. And at this point now I need to just evaluate the three pieces of the quadratic formula. Piece 1 is 5. Change the sign on B. The bottom piece is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. That's how I truly do my paper when I'm doing the quadratic formula. I don't even write minus b equals or the 2a equals. I just evaluate them, stick them in where they belong. The only thing I've ever evaluated on my paper is the b squared minus 4ac. And all I'm going to do there is get 5 times itself is 25. Minus 4 times 3 times -2. Be careful that c a lot of times is negative. And when c is negative and you do this product here, you end up getting 2 negatives there. So it changes from a minus to a plus. So it's always minus in the formula, but a negative can change it to a plus. 25 plus 24 is 49 again. It's kind of boring for the book to give you 2 problems with the same number, but oh well. At least we got it a different way. The other one was 625 minus 576. This one's 25 plus 24. So at least they got 49 a different way. But anyway. Once again, we get to a point where we have this nice friendly radical, which again, I'm not guaranteeing happens on the homework. I'll show you in just a moment how to deal with that. So if I simplify, I'm going to get x to the 1/3 power. And again, keep bringing this down because the most common mistake people make is they don't deal with that power to get the final answer. So we have 5 plus or minus 7 over 6, which gives me x to the 1/3 power is equal to 12 over 6 if I add on top, -2 over 6 if I subtract on top. So my final equation I'm going to create is x to the 1/3 power is equal to
12 over 6.
12 over 6. Oh yeah, over 6, thank you. I was doing 12 divided by 6 in my head to get the 2, I think. Right. Over 6 would be there, yes. All right, so 5 plus 7, 12 over 6 is there. So x to the 1/3 power for this one is going to equal 2, or x to the 1/3 power for the second one is going to be -1/3. Now, if you happen to have a fractional power, the way you deal with that is you take the reciprocal power. So the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3 over 1, so take both sides to the 3rd power. X to the 3rd, 1/3 to the 3rd. So let me say that again. X to the 1/3 to the 3rd is equal to x to the 1st, which is what we're looking for. 2 to the 3rd equals 8, which is one of the answers. Raise both sides to the 3rd power to get rid of the 1/3 powers. All right? Same thing here. X to the 1/3, I take that to the 3rd power. -1/3 to the 3rd power. 3 negatives make a negative. 1 times 1 times 1 on top is 1. 3 times 3 times 3 on the bottom is 27. And this time we only get 2 answers. Okay, now just real quickly, if you have some room somewhere around there, put this problem up. It's going to have an ugly answer. Let's say I get x to the 2/5 minus 3x to the 1/5 minus 7, there we go, 7 equals 0. All right. That's going to qualify as an ugly answer. All right. When I say ugly answer, I simply mean when you get the square root, it's not going to be the square root of 49, it'll be like the square root of 23 or a square root of 37. Some number that doesn't have a nice pretty square root. And I'll show you how I want you to handle this on your homework should this happen. So once again, quadratic in form is happening, right? Power of x, half as much, constant, trinomial equal to 0. This time a is equal to 1, b is -3, c is -7. My x to the 1/5 power is going to equal the quadratic formula structure. What goes right here is -b, which is going to be 3. 2a goes on the bottom, that's 2. If I go to b squared minus 4ac, I'm going to get 3 times itself is 9, minus 4 times 1 times -7. So 9 plus 28 is equal to 37. I said 30. Didn't I say 37? Oh, but 36 would have been nice, right? Oh, yeah. All right. I think 37 is one of those numbers I said if this happens, and I'm just throwing up random numbers out. That's kind of a good guess. All right. So everything up to this point is exactly the same. Now, the difference here is square root of 37 doesn't have this nice, friendly answer to it, right? So what I want you to do with this answer is I still want to get those two answers like we did on all the other problems. Go to your calculator. Uh-oh. Lost my X. Hang on a second. There we go. All right, go to your calculator and type in this. 3 plus the square root of 37 over 2. But watch how I type it in. Parentheses. 3 plus square root 37. Now I'm going to push the arrow to the right to get out of the radical. And watch what happened there. You see how the radical bar is keeping on there? Once I hit to the right, the radical bar stops. Okay? End parentheses divided by 2. Make sure that top is in parentheses so the calculator knows evaluate this first, then divide by 2. And that comes out to 4.5414.
How many places?
4 decimal places. All right, and then if I go back and I can type in again 3 minus the square root of 37 over 2. Watch what else I can do. And everybody take a quick look here. Right above enter says entry. If you ever hit the entry, which is hit the second key first, then enter, it brings back up the last thing you typed in. If you do it again, it'll bring up the thing before that, and the thing before that, and so on. It goes back, I think, 12 or 13 functions. So if you typed something a little bit ago and you couldn't remember what you typed, if you hit entry a lot of times, you might find it again. But if I go there and if I just cursor back and change that plus sign to a minus sign, hit enter again, it gives me the other value, negative 1.5414. Oh, and you know what?
That's a 5 instead of a 1.
I have that backwards. 5414. Yeah, okay. All right. Got a little dyslexia going on there. I got my numbers transposed. Okay. So that's what you get, right? And again, does that say x equals? No. But what I want you to do, if it doesn't come out nice and pretty, give me some decimal approximations, 4 decimal places, then do what you're supposed to do beyond that, which is raise them both to the 5th power. So this to the 5th power, this to the 5th power is going to give me x equals. And this to the 5th power and this to the 5th power is going to give me x equals. And again, go back to your calculator. I don't know what 4.5414 to the 5th power is. So I'm going to type in 4.5414 caret 5. The caret key right above the division key, 5. So I'm typing in this 5. I typed it in wrong again. Dang it. 4.5414. 4.5414 caret 5. It's so hard to type the right numbers in, isn't it? It equals 1931.74. Then we do the other number, which is negative 1.5414 caret 5. Now be careful about a negative number. 5th power is odd, so it's going to be a negative answer. If that was a 4th power, let's say this was 1/4 instead of 1/5, it should end up being a positive answer. If I type it in like this, it'll show up negative because my calculator doesn't see the parentheses around it. But just know a 5th power is odd. We should get 5 negatives, which makes a negative. We get negative 8.70. Both of those numbers, should you put them in place of the x in the original problem, would get you equal to 0. You have what for the first one?
No, for x, the first time you wrote it, I wrote 1454.
I had it 1454 on the board. I messed up. It was supposed to be 5414. That's my fault. Sorry. Okay, so again, if that happens, I don't know if it happens or not, but if it happens on the homework, you don't get these friendly answers, just give me a decimal approximation for both the 4 decimal places. Round your final answers to 2.
Yeah.